Academy and West Point when I was a senior in high school.
How long had the war been going on before you entered the military, or did it start after?
It actually started while I was, the first Gulf War started while I was in language training. It was actually, I joined the military in 1989, in the fall of 1989. And while I was in basic training, the Berlin Wall fell, and while I was in language training, the Gulf War began.
How did you feel about entering the military during wartime? Were you afraid, proud, or perhaps excited?
Neither, because I was a Chinese linguist and I knew that my chances of being deployed to an active duty zone were limited, but it was very interesting because the Army has the ability to redeploy you. And I could have very easily been redeployed as an Arabic linguist because all of my friends that were in training with me were Arabic linguists, and they were immediately shipped out to Kuwait to fight in the war.
Where did you receive your basic training? Tell me about that experience.
Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Surprisingly, I was very disappointed in basic training. I thought it was a lot easier than summer football camp in high school. I expected it to be very grueling. I went in decent shape, and I found it to be not as physically challenging as I would have liked. But on the other hand, the military part took a while to get used to, waking up every day at 4 in the morning with people banging trash cans and running you all over the place just to basically play mental games with you, mental head games with you, was a new experience for me.
What job were you trained for?
I was dual trained. I was both an intelligence analyst and trained as an interpreter in the military intelligence branch of the U.S. Army, and specifically I was trained as a Chinese linguist.
Did you request your specific job, or?
Yes, I got exactly what I asked for.
Tell me about that experience. Tell me about how you were as a linguist.
It was a very interesting experience. I actually, directly from basic training, I was assigned to the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. I flew out there. I had already had some Chinese training in college. So I went into an immersion program out there for 18 months. Spent 18 months with members of all 4 branches of the service: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines, as well as other DOD and FBI employees in a deep immersion, total immersion, living type of situation, Chinese class. I studied Mandarin Chinese. All of my instructors were native Chinese. They refused to speak English with us. We spent 8 hours a day studying the language, and then at night we were required to speak Chinese in the dorms.
It's good. All right. Did you make any close friends during these times? Tell me about them.
I did. I met, actually my first exposure to the Mormon religion. I made many friends among the Mormon soldiers just because we had very similar lifestyles. I like to work out. I was on the Army run team that actually ran and did fitness tests competitively, both on the base and off the base at other installations. So a lot of these Mormon soldiers were both in my Chinese classes and on my fitness teams.
What'd you do with your free time?
I took CPA classes at a local California college so I could prepare to take my CPA exam.
All right. How did you... This is the wartime military experience. How did you travel to wartime duty locations?
my duty, I wasn't in a tactical location. I actually was deployed at the National Security Agency, where we provided support functions for wartime activities. So I was not in a combat zone per se. I was in a support function at the National Security Agency. Excuse me.
Was this your first experience in a foreign country, and what was your first impression?
Well, actually, it was domestic U.S. I did do some missions overseas, but I can't really talk about them.
Where were you stationed?
Fort Meade, it was my home base, but we did missions out of Fort Meade, but I'm not allowed to talk about them.
What was your unit or ship named? What was your unit named?
It was the 742nd Military Intelligence Battalion.
When did your tour begin?
So it started in October 1991 and ended in October 1993. But I did some tours earlier than that as well.
How big was your unit or ship? Explain how it was, or did I just say that?
No. It was interesting because I was deployed in joint services, so I was very rarely with my unit. I was more with a civilian team and other service members. I worked in a group of about 30 people.
All right. After the war, or your tour ended, how long did you remain in the military?
I served a 4-year commitment in the military total. I got out in October of 1993.
What jobs did you do after the war?
I passed my CPA exam while in the military, and then joined an investment banking training program with a large bank.
What was the highest rank you received?
The highest rank, I started off as a first class private, and I worked my way all the way up on active duty to a sergeant. And then when I was in the reserves, this was after my active duty, I was they nominated me for warrant officer school.
Where were you stationed? How much did you travel after the war?
I had a number of different duty stations in addition to Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. I was at Goodfellow Air Force Base in Texas for signals intelligence training. I did also a number of different training ops in areas that I cannot disclose. But suffice it to say that I had a lot of TDY training. That also stands for temporary tour of duty.
What was your favorite place that you were stationed?
Probably Monterey, California.
Why is that?
Beautiful weather, great instruction, scuba diving, great golf.
Tell me about the highlights of your post-war military experience.
I got to give a number of different briefings for very high-level DoD or Department of Defense personnel, including field-grade military officers, colonels and generals and admirals and the like. I was part of a team that did a lot of fusion intelligence reporting. I worked with many people that were geniuses, frankly, and we worked on joint agency reporting projects.
All right, this is officially post-war. What did you do right after you were discharged?
I went into a banking training program, and basically entered the profession I'm in today, which is investment banking.
What was your job after? What was your first job after you discharged?
Was a trainee at a bank for a bank.
And that's all we have to ask you.